meeting I call to order at this time. Roll call, please, Tara.
Alderman Motley.
Here.
Alderman Hudson.
Here.
Alderman Hilton.
Present.
Alderman Stevens.
Here.
Alderman Rogers. Alderman Magley.
Yep.
Mr. Rogers sent me an email saying he would not be here tonight. If everybody rise and please follow me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That moves us into item 3 of the public hearing, for the tax rate public hearing that we'll be having. At this time, I would open the floor up for anyone wanting to speak about that. I will say that I have had no one send me emails or text or anything about it. Have you had any?
No, I have
Okay. So it's open for, public hearing is open for tax rate.
So Linda asked the question, what the current tax rate is. So our current tax rate for general fund is 0.6582. And then the amount that we are allowed, our tax ceiling this year is 0.6439. That's the allowable rate set by the state auditor's office. For Parks and Rec, last year was 0.2947. This year will be 0.2883. And the library will be was 0.5435, and it will be 0.5284. Even with those changes, if we were to receive every bit of what they estimate that we should receive, our budget, overall budget would increase. In the general fund, it would be $70,288, Parks and Rec $30,907, and library $47,760. But we typically receive about 90% of that, so we're still a little bit over what we had budgeted.
If I have no further comments, I'll close the public hearing on the tax rate. That moves us to public comments at this time. We would entertain comments from citizens. Again, I had no general comments from citizens that were sent to me by email or text, so forth.
I just have a couple of things I want to talk about. At our last meeting, we talked about the skateboarding signs and whatnot. I drove around today looking, I could only find 3, and they say, no bicycles or skateboards or rollerblades. And they stop at that. They don't say on sidewalks or anything. So I'm thinking that maybe, I mean, a kid is not gonna read that and think, oh, I can't ride on the sidewalk. I don't know. I just think maybe we need to make some adjustments to those signs so that it says on sidewalks. Because last week, one day, there was a kid on a bicycle with a baby carrier on the back of it that he was pulling around, and he was doing donuts in the street and up on the sidewalks. I didn't call the cops, I didn't, but yeah, they're just not paying any attention. And they're only on a 8 by 11 piece of sign that's very hard to see.
I agree, because I went looking after the meeting too, so.
If we're gonna get after the kids, we need to have signs that are legible and that they can be
Like I
on.
said, the question I have, was the baby carrier empty?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I thought at first that it had a dog in it, but it didn't.
Okay, good.
But yeah, it was empty. I'm assuming it was a parent's
Probably
baby
so.
and he was just riding it.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
The other thing that I wanted to, ask about, the grants. I kind of got the impression in the park board's meetings a couple months ago, whenever it was, that they didn't get the grant for the pool. Did the one for the sidewalk come through?
No, they haven't made a final decision, but I really don't think that we're going to get that one.
Okay.
But what pool grant were you talking about?
Not pool, but the one to tear down the building out there at the golf course.
Yeah, it was decided not to pursue it because of the fact that with earmark, the federal government wanted to say that that property would have to forever, if we took the $200,000, I think that the grant was gonna be worth, forever would have to be used as an outdoor recreation area.
Oh,
It can
And
never
that
be
was-
sold.
It cannot be sold. So
okay.
we can't make agreements like that on behalf of the city's property and have the federal government owning pieces of our property.
For sure. I
We
just,
just
I
don't-
had,
but
I just wanted to make
So I want you to
sure.
know that I
Yeah.
think that we probably could have gotten that grant. Heather and Earl and them all worked together on putting it in, but then when it got down to it, then the fine print came out.
Yeah,
And that's when we decided, and so there's some things going on that we're working collaboratively, that we'll be talking about that, we brought up before, about, you know, some of these funds that we've talked about that are coming.
The ARPA fund, the American Recovery
Um,
Action Act.
I just was curious.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
I,
wanted to
there
put it
was
on there.
never anything ever really said, and like I said, I just read little blurbs of it in their
Yeah.
minutes, and so I
So
wasn't.
just to
sure.
let you have an idea, I think that's one we probably could have gotten, but we chose not to pursue it further.
Well, sure,
once we
with
found
those
that
kind
out.
of conditions,
Yeah, so just so
you
know.
can't do that, for
Right.
sure. Okay, now, the next thing is this memorandum of understanding. I've talked to Jenny over the weekend, and her board has not seen this at all yet. And so she thinks they need to vote on it and make some changes to it, because really the chamber board won't have any say in a lot of this stuff. She said it would all have to be made by whoever's coordinating and all the people who are participating in the farmer's market.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
Well, I saw
it'll
her
do-
over this weekend and she didn't mention it to me at all, and I had emailed her a copy, and I emailed Tim Stevens a copy.
Yeah, she
That's
said
another
that she
thing,
did,
so-
I thought she said she sent you at least one email, but she was gonna send you another one. Now,
Yeah,
that
I've been
maybe-
I've been in communication with her about it, but she didn't say anything about the chamber board needed to approve it before the board of aldermen approved it.
Well, now, I'm not saying they do, but if they haven't even seen it, I mean, you're on that board, you all haven't met, you haven't talked about it, she said. And so without
We
them,
have talked about a farmer's market.
but not this memorandum.
My question is, if there's a problem, why isn't Jenny here presenting it?
She just told me she couldn't be here, so,
And I don't see a problem with it. If she can't present it, she's getting paid for that, then she ought to be up here presenting it.
okay, yeah.
She's not doing her job.
I did send it to her and to Taylor Warburton. And Taylor has been in communication with me, and so has Jenny. We've emailed back and forth, and I sent Jenny a revised copy. She sent me some revisions, things that she thought needed to be changed.
I don't know. The other thing is, it says on here, the City of Centralia Parks and Recreation Department would have to grant use of this lot over here.
No, that's a typo. It shouldn't say Parks and Rec.
Okay, well, it does, so,
We'll just have to change that, considered a Scrivener's error. We can change that in the final version.
okay.
Good, okay. Thank you. Any other comments from citizens at this time? Okay, with that, none being presented, I will close comments from citizens. We will move now to the consent agenda. We have minutes of prior Board of Alderman meetings, Board of Alderman minutes, August 9th, 2021. Committee meetings of the Public Works and Utilities Committee meeting, August 9th, 2021. General Government Public Safety Committee meeting, August 9th, 2021. And accounts payable over $1,250. So with those all being said, I would accept the motion to approve as a group unless someone wants to separate them out for any particular reason.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 9th meetings.
Second.
I have a first and a second to approve consent agenda. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. That moves us to the action agenda. Item 8.
She just approved
Yeah,
it.
she just said the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Specifically.
I make a motion to approve the accounts payable over $12.50.
Oh, okay.
Second.
You got a second?
Sorry, I didn't know.
Okay, it's still on the meeting of the night. Thank you, guys. I have a first and a second for approving the accounts payable of $1,250. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now that gets us to the action agenda. And number 8 is finance. A is fixing the annual rate of taxation in the city of Central, Missouri for tax year 2021 for general revenue purposes, for maintenance, and for the support of the library, for steps in maintaining free public parks.
I move that bill number 2417 be given its first read by title only.
Second.
Have a first and a second, for it to be read by title only. It's first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Heather, please.
An ordinance fixing the annual rate of taxation in the city of Centralia, Missouri for the year 2021 for general revenue purposes, for maintenance and the support of the library, and for establishing and maintaining free public parks.
I move that bill number 2417 be given its second read by title only.
Second.
Have a first and second for the second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Second reading, please.
An ordinance fixing the annual rate of taxation in the city of Centralia, Missouri for the year 2021 for general revenue purposes, for maintenance and the support of the library, and for establishing and maintaining free public parks.
I move that bill number 2417 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
Have a first and second for roll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Roll call vote, please, Terry.
Alderman Motley? Yes. Alderman Hudson?
Four.
Alderman Wilkins?
Four.
Alderman Stevens?
Yes.
Alderman Magley?
Yep.
Passes. 2417. Bill number passes. Ordinance number, please.
3101.
Okay. That moves us to item 9, legal. That would be A, re-adopting section 2-7 and section 2-8 of the Centralia City Code concerning procedures for certain city officials, employees to disclose certain financial information and other interests and matters affecting the city of Centralia, Missouri. That would be,
Move that bill number 2418 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
have first and second for the first reading of 2418. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. First reading, please.
An ordinance to re-adopt section 2-7 and section 2-8 of the Centralia City Code concerning the procedures for certain city officials and employees to disclose certain financial and other interests in matters affecting the city of Centralia, Missouri.
Move that bill number 2418 be given its second reading by title only.
Have first and second for the second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
An ordinance to re-adopt section 2-7 and section 2-8 of the Centralia City Code concerning procedures for certain city officials and employees to disclose certain financial and other interests in matters affecting the city of Centralia, Missouri.
Move that bill number 2418 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
Have first and second for a roll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. A roll call vote, please, Tara.
Alderman Motley? Yep. Alderman Hudson?
Four.
Alderman Wilkins?
Four.
Alderman Stevens?
Yes.
Alderman Magley?
It passes, so bill number 2418 has been adopted. Ordinance number will be 3102, is that correct?
Yes.
All righty, that moves us to B. Authorize the mayor to sign memorandum of understanding with the Chamber for the Farmers Market. Would be bill number, I guess, 2419, is that correct? And,
So if the chamber has changes that they need to be put in, we would.
So this is just authorizing us to sign the memorandum of understanding, if you all are okay with those changes being approved by the city attorney. She's seen all of this, she's seen the MOU, she's seen the ordinance, has approved it, so, that would be, if we're comfortable allowing her to make those changes, or do you want it brought back to you?
I would like it brought back to us.
Okay, so if there are changes, over what we had, so the changes that we have made since this went out, we did change, we said that we're not quite certain that the Boone County Health Department requires them to have a food handler's license. So we just changed it to that the chamber will verify that each vendor is in compliance with regulations of the Boone County Health Department. And originally, we had said that we would provide the electric service there, and Taylor came back and said that she felt like the it was not fair for them to have electricity for free. And so we charge $10 per day for other vendors that are setting up, like at the city square or something like that. And so I just did a quick calculation. I have a household of 6 people, and we have 2 air conditioners. They run nonstop. So during the hottest part of the summer, we ran, not including like a base fee, we ran about $10 to $15 a day. So that seems reasonable for the farmer's market to pay $10 a day to me for the 4 hours that they're going to be set up. So we agreed on that amount.
That's assuming they want electricity, right?
Yes.
Not all of them are used.
How are they gonna get electricity over
We're gonna set up a temporary service off the pole that's there.
there?
It would be nice if that chamber would just kind of look over that stuff before we,
That chamber board,
yeah.
so do you wanna table this then?
I'd entertain a motion if you would like to do that.
Make a motion, we postpone until the next board of alderman meeting.
Have a second. Have a first or second to table this till the next board of alderman meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We'll table that till the next meeting. That moves us to C, amending chapter 22 of the Centralia City Code concerning personnel. I guess that would be Bill 2420.
2411.
19.
Okay, thank you.
There's a lot here to get through, so I actually think we might postpone this one as well.
Any issues that need to be addressed immediately this was supposed to trying to address?
Just the training issue, for whenever what we pay and then the amount of time that employees, have to earn employed, after we pay for training, certain like apprenticeship programs, or if we reimburse for college, those kind of things. Right now, we don't have any, thing saying that somebody has to stay here, so they can go through our apprenticeship program and then be gone. And, so would like to look at that. So if it's okay, I might bring this back and the MOU with the chamber back at maybe a special meeting on the 13th. And I would hate to do that 3 meetings in a row with just those 2 things instead of the 20th. I mean, it could wait another week, it's fine. But we do want to get some people enrolled into the water apprenticeship program.
I think it needs to happen that way. I think they're all agreeing. And it would be prorated to where if they leave, like we talked about, it would be half of it after a year, that kind of thing. It's where, somebody has a right deal. But I have no problem having a special meeting if need be, at all, for me. To have the
You
time.
promise will only be 2 things on the agenda.
I don't promise that. I should have a problem. But, I think that
Have somebody starting?
we do have somebody that we need to start, and they're taking applications now for those programs, and we want to get in it. So honestly, the person that we're looking to put in that program, I don't see would be a flight risk. He's been with the city already for 3.5, almost 4 years.
But it's good to codify it.
Yeah, well, I don't wanna rush
Right.
something just because we got one more person we wanna make
Right.
sure gets in it. If in reality it doesn't go in place till after that person's in their role.
Well,
The point is we would be making an improvement in the process, even,
the question I have is if we have a meeting on the 13th, would that give us time to keep,
We have a committee meetings.
put this person under that plan still? The 13th afford us to do that still?
I don't know. I think that they already want to get him enrolled right now. I can find out for sure.
but one more person under the current plan isn't gonna kill us. We're gonna make the improvements in the process going forward.
Right, and the problem with the water side is, the DNR classes fill up very, very quickly. And so if you're not pretty much just waiting there to click your mouth to say, yes, I want to enroll at the time that they release it, then we can't even get our guys in to these classes. So, this would guarantee that they're gonna get the certification that they need. I think it's necessary.
I wouldn't hold up training that's necessary because we haven't had a chance to go through this, but I don't wanna rush this either.
There are a lot of changes in here, and I tried to do a memo that just highlights each of the changes, but please feel free to let me know if you have any questions about any of them. A lot of it came from the MIRMA model policy that we received, and it added some necessary legal areas, such as the ADA, and then Another area that I added that I thought was very important was the temporary transitional duty, so it's like a return to work. So we have specific procedures, so if we have someone out with a work comp injury, how they can transition back instead of just saying, we don't have light duty, or this is what light duty we have. It actually sets a policy for what needs to happen.
I think it's important everybody has time to digest it and look through it and understand it. So it sounds like, I would be in agreement with that and be okay with that. I would entertain a motion, to table this until the next meeting.
Postpone.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Have a first and second to table and postpone, until the next meeting, such that, okay? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And I still would.
We would
say
hold,
Don't hold
We will,
up
no, we won't hold up.
necessary
We
training
don't wanna miss them getting
until we
in
have a
front of the plan.
revised process in place.
Right, I agree. Yes. That moves us to, as may arise, on as may arise, we have a discussion of the one-way streets around Chance Elementary. There were some people, I think, that brought it to Landon's attention, so maybe you can give us an update of what you've heard and then get an update.
They just like to know why. I mean, the school's been there forever and ain't ever had problems. No one-way, park here, park there. They just wanna know why.
I believe it.
I've been questioned too.
Yeah, I believe it's just an agreement with the school district and then the police department to try to regulate the traffic. I don't think it's one party said this is what we had to do over another. I think it was a cooperative effort. In my mind, that's what
And
happened.
what is those playing rules today, as you understand them?
As I
think
understand,
know.
it's just
So
during
it's supposed to be
drop off and pickup. Is that it's only supposed to be one way during drop off and pickup. It's not supposed to be that way all day long.
And they asked, did they come to the city and ask the board about it or anything? And I said,
No.
I never knew nothing about it.
No, it's traffic regulation, which is on the police department to do.
It's been talked about in here before.
Yeah, just
I don't know if
last
it's-
year.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember talking about it.
I just don't know why the change if it's been that way since forever. I mean, how long has the school been up?
So you want my blunt answer? People are idiots. I'm sorry.
People's been idiots their whole life since
I
the
know,
school's
but
been
it
there.
seems to get worse.
Do you have any insight on the traffic situation at the elementary?
So I think COVID has changed some stuff to where there's actually more drop off than there is less transport and stuff. Cause like this morning we had just one lane going pretty much heading north on Rollins from Lakeview. And for a brief period of time, we had cars all the way down Lakeview backed up. And we actually had to direct traffic, same thing with CIS.
Okay.
And they've got CIS pretty much going with two lanes coming into the parking lot, going one way out. And so I think they're just trying to try that with Rollins as well, to get the traffic moving on through so we don't have anybody stop.
Do you know if there's a change in the number of kids that can be on a bus at a time with COVID
I don't know about that.
I don't think they're doing anything like that
this year?
distancing on
But it
buses,
happened,
so-
but it was I thought it was last year.
Like
So this
last-
would have started last year.
Last year was a mess. I mean, because we had 20 buses going to the high school that were picking up, or however many buses we got, going to pick up 20 kids. And they changed it this year to where only 2 buses are going out. So that helps a bunch. But I think a lot of it has to do with COVID. There's just so many parents are bringing their kids now. And just causing more traffic.
There was a thing on Facebook over the weekend, and I'm sorry, I know I'm not supposed to be talking, but it showed like 4 different drop-off spots one for each grade level around the elementary school in that one way, all the way around the building. So, I mean, I don't know if that explains anything or not, or helps, but.
I think they are trying to keep the kids maybe separate in their own groups, yeah.
And plus, there road construction over there too.
Yes, this morning there was road construction, poor timing. That was not, we've been told that we would have asphalt overlay since July and it kept getting pushed back and then just happened to be this week. Really was poor timing.
Further discussion?
I would be okay with one way during school hours, but I don't wanna see a permanent change. on those streets.
Well, I don't, it's never been that, has it? I mean, has it been just during school and then,
Yeah,
all I know is the school takes and moves the,
yes, I believe it's just for pickup and drop off.
and then,
it goes
because
back
one
to-
night at 8 o'clock at night, it was still out there, they'd forgotten to pull it.
They forgot picked up.
Right,
cars, I believe.
yeah, that had happened one
Yeah.
night,
Mhm.
but I got notified about,
Yeah.
you know, and so,
Yeah.
So we're still blocking Pool and all that off too? All them streets are getting blocked off like they were last year, or no?
Well, I didn't see that today. It shouldn't be because now the kids can pretty much go either east or west whenever they come out of there, because we only have 2 buses coming out. Before it was causing a problem because all the kids were coming out and trying to go to the east, and then you got all the buses trying to come out, and they have to try to make it over to the middle school.
Okay.
So that was, we were having to stop traffic on Jefferson just to get the buses out, and then stop the kids and make the kids only go west. And we didn't wanna send them north, because then they got into the flow of the elementary school, and then so you just had cars sitting everywhere. But I don't think that'll be a problem this year, because we didn't have to direct traffic over there, now that we're just down to 2 buses.
so none of the ancillary roads around the block will be closed, but it'll just be a flow one way during the pickup and drop off times.
For elementary, yes.
For elementary right now, this time.
So at the high school though, they would block off Pool Street and Sappington,
Yeah,
so that all the kids weren't going
Understood.
those streets and
But
then
that's-
messing up with that
but
other.
I don't think
that's
that's gonna be a
happening.
problem, yeah, I don't think that's gonna be a problem this year,
Okay.
because we're only dealing with 2 buses instead
Could
of
you
all.
verify that, you know, and.
I can talk to Officer
Let her know,
Davenport.
that'd be good, no,
That'd be great.
that'd be great to know.
Okay.
Thank
Just let
you.
that
Mhm.
out. B, pandemic flu leave policy and response plan.
This is just something I really wanted to bring up so that we can be thinking about it and maybe come up with a solution. We implemented this pandemic flu leave policy. This was before the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act went into effect. We actually adopted this in March of 2020, before everything kind of went crazy. And it was good. It was very good forethought on our part. But now, we're still operating under this plan, but the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, the FCRA, is no longer in effect. So what we were able to do with under that was we were able to apply for some of our money back that we paid for people to be out for 10 days with COVID, or taking care of kids or taking care of spouses. I just wanted to see if we want to continue with this policy. Right now, we're allowing up to 10 days of pandemic sick leave. If we want to keep it with this policy, I think that we need to look at it. Are we going to just continue with the 10 days per fiscal year? And then after that, they need to use whatever leave they have. And if they don't have any, if they've exhausted all leave, then we need to start pushing FMLA for that, because we still just pay our employees for being out. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's gonna eat into our revenues if we keep doing that. I'd like to know since there is now a vaccine, do we amend our policy to take that into consideration as well? Other cities are doing that. Other cities are saying, you get 5 days, they're saying half the time, 5 days, at the beginning of the fiscal year, of this extra leave if something happens. I don't know what the best option is. I really would just like discussion about it. So think about it and think if that's something we want to do. But under our current policy, if an employee gets sick, or their spouse gets sick, or their child's school is shut down because of quarantine, we are paying them an extra 10 days worth of leave. Just
My thought is a 1 10-day bucket per year,
I think you need to cap it for sure, right?
Yeah,
That way we manage to an expectation of what it could cost us, because you gotta have to meet a budget.
yeah, because we can't,
And if you don't do that, I mean.
we want to make sure our
crazy for you.
employees, if they get sick, have an opportunity, or family member gets sick, but if it hits their house 2 or 3 times, it's hard for the city to carry that bill.
it is.
We don't have an unlimited budget.
And then with a cap, at least like I say, we know what the more of a worst case scenario.
The max.
The control max would be, right? So you'd hope you never get to the max of that. I mean, everybody who is eligible would be off for 10 days, but the thought maybe is I mean, how do we validate that they're off? I mean, we just say they are,
No, there's a form that has to be filled out, proof has to be given to us
so
that they're,
it has to be validated.
it has to be validated.
Yeah, okay.
We
I
have-
thought so, that's why I asked the question in case anybody else.
Yeah, we have a special form that we send out, that has to be completed, plus we need proof. Sometimes people get it on their phones, they just screenshot it and send it in, you know, those kind of things, but we're relying on,
Can that 10 days be, you know, say, is it because that's their 10-day quarantine period? Is that why it's 10 days? Or is it if they start feeling better and they're on day 5, they can come back, and then if they get COVID again, they have 5 days? Or is it are you doing quarantine period?
we're doing, it's quarantine period.
Okay.
So if you look at the CDC guidelines, it refers you back to the county. So we look at the county guidelines, and the county guidelines say that if you're under quarantine, you have to be quarantined. They recommend 14 days, but it can be 10 days if you're not showing any signs or symptoms. But it can be 7 days if you're still not showing signs or symptoms and you get tested and you test negative.
So you can come back early.
So it can be
only
7
unless you get
days
tested.
if the employee wants to, you know,
7 calendar days,
yes, 7 calendar
So,
days.
a week, if they're.
Right. So they could maybe just use 3 days of this pandemic leave. No, probably not 3, probably like 4 or 5. But anyway, they could just use some and not all,
So
if
7
they
days.
choose to get.
But 7 days turns into 1.4 weeks of pay, at regular pay. 5 business days a week, I mean, typically we were working 40-hour weeks. Typical frame of things, other than the police department has some different hours than that, I mean, I know as far as, you know, shifts and stuff, but, and then I guess they would be eligible for if they had to be quarantined again, they would have the opportunity to have 3 days, but the rest would be, that would be, they'd be at their max at that point, correct?
Right.
Yeah, because if they get it again and they've already used their 10 days, they're not, I mean, they can't come back. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they would have to use their own sick leave or vacation. So right now, they're off, they don't have to use vacation, their own vacation or sick leave. And we're just paying that time off, but that really does eat into our budget. If we keep doing that, it reduces productivity, and I
Well,
wanna be fair to
well, one
our
other thing,
employees, but I also wanna protect.
the town our size, we have,
Does that accumulate 6 days?
8 days a year. The issue I don't wanna run into though is an employee knowing that they feel sick, but they have exhausted all of their leave,
and then they come in.
and then they come in because,
They can't afford it.
yeah, exactly,
And then everybody gets sick, and then they got a whole department.
exactly, yes. So there's a catch-22 in changing the policy. But we've been wondering, you know, is this 10 days every occurrence? So,
I think there's a lot of places whose policies are kind of get 1 instance or 10 days. And I think that's a reasonable thing. People still need to be responsible. I mean, if somebody shows up sick knowingly, that's a whole nother conversation.
well, we could, so whenever we calculate FMLA, we calculate it on a rolling calendar year. We could do the same with this. You know, our preparedness plan does state, you know, you don't know how long a pandemic's gonna last, and so we don't know how long this will last. So if we do it on a rolling calendar year, then it's just a little more tracking on our part, but we can absolutely do that, if that makes sense.
What would be the benefit of a rolling versus a standard?
Standard, I mean, if you get sick in January and then you get sick again you get sick in December and then you get sick again in January, essentially that's 2 months, just back to back. But a rolling calendar year would be December to December or November to November. That's just how we treat FMLA, so that's why I suggested that.
Your sick leave, does it carry on to the next year too?
It does, up to 800, we can make up to 800 hours of sick leave.
800 hours?
Holy buckets!
I thought you said something else. Okay, if they can roll over and have up to 800 hours of sick time, 10 days a year is fine.
Yeah.
Good
I
lord.
mean, I don't see
You gotta
getting
work
10 days,
all the
that's me. I don't get nothing.
Well, I think that I think we need for fiscal responsibility. I mean, people also have to be responsible too, what they're doing. I mean, you have a chance to get inoculated or not. And this pandemic, this damn thing could go on forever if they keep getting new strains, which the flu gets new strains every year. So I'm just saying that it's gonna be potentially.
I saw an article about a lambda strain or something like that.
Yeah.
They have strains picked like the next 20 years.
All I know is anything that comes from Brazil is killer, the bees and whatever might be, so,
Who's not
Kill
on
it
the
once. But so,
It's just.
it sounds like to me
It's
that
gonna be around.
we would wanna maybe draft something around a max, is that what we would like to see at this point, what I'm hearing from everybody, does that make sense? And it would be around that 10-day max,
If you wanna go rolling or calendar,
you know. Which one's more hard to manage? I mean, are they harder to manage? Not really, right?
No.
For you, I mean,
Is there more tracking if it's rolling on you?
So our fiscal year is April to March, but our calendar year, obviously, January to December. But the way we track our leave, and it rolls over every year, is December to November. So it really doesn't
So we got
matter.
three different,
Why can we change that to everything's under one?
Well, I'll tell you why that we do this, because there is a sick leave bonus. So if employees do not use sick leave, there's a sliding scale of how, so you have to bank, it's whatever you bank, you have to have 16 days, not 16 hours, 16 days of sick leave. So essentially it's 2 years of not ever using your sick leave. And then you bank that on December 1. So from December 1 to November 30th of the following year, if you haven't used any, or if you use less than 4, then you get this extra bonus on your December 1st paycheck. I think it was probably started Christmas night.
yeah. Well, I'm telling you, man, we have pretty good benefits, the city does, I know how, but in a lot of ways, so,
Whatever's easiest for you to track.
yeah.
So
So,
it's just as easy to do a roll.
so why don't we have you draft something to send out
Okay,
and us to look at and
Okay.
have that on the next
all right.
meeting as well, if that makes sense for you, with me, rather than discussing that. So it's-
I can do 2 versions. I can show you what it would look like, or just,
I don't think we care as long as it's 10 days, is that correct?
10 days,
And what
okay.
you think?
So are you doing, if they come back in 7 days, they got 3 days left over, and you're gonna try to keep track of all that too?
yeah, we can do that. It's not anything, we keep track of it anyway.
Or do you just wanna do one occurrence up to 10 days? Like, if it's 7, that's still your occurrence, but you're allowed 10.
Lot people off for 10,
Sure.
even if they can come back.
Okay.
Well, I think that would.
Sorry,
encourage them
I
to
wasn't
come back.
thinking.
And
No,
that
I
would
mean-
push people out longer than the CDC guidelines. I mean, I would
Yeah.
like to stay flexible as the CDC guidelines change, or county guidelines in this case, but
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
we'll
we'll
look for
drop
that
that,
from you.
okay.
Okay, and I had one other thing that's not on here really quickly that got brought to my attention, and it had to do with the school resource officer. We had discussions with, Mr. Chancellor, had a meeting with him, and Bob Bias, the police chief, and Heather and I. And from that, they've reached back out and want to reconvene to talk further through that. We're actually absolutely in favor of this SRO, I mean, as a group, I think, and just how does that work where the school's gonna have some ownership in that? There's been absolutely, I think, buy-in from their side that it's needed. So you can kind of give us an update what they're wanting to get a couple of the faculty, I mean, the board,
Right, we're just gonna get together for a discussion and continue our discussion that we've already been having about the SRO and then cooperative agreement.
to work on finishing a cooperative
Yeah.
agreement. She offered a drafted one the first time. He was gonna look through that, Mr. Chancellor, and he wants some time to look through that and kick it back to us. So I think that's what we're trying to do, is work out what does that look like, He had asked for, that being it's in his schools and so forth like that, he'd like to have more cooperative input on what that program looks like, right? And I think we're more than willing to do that. Bob wanted to make sure that it would be our employee, and if we had a need that arose, that officer would need to leave that school resource position to go help with something immediate that needed to be out in the public, that that was worthy of leaving and pretty serious, that he understood that that would be our officer to use in those situations. So those are some of the discussions we had where I thought they were good and made sense. So I think it was just trying to narrow it down and finalize to what's agreeable, right? That's what we're trying to do. So I was asked about it, and it is in the works, and I'm gonna be gone, the rest of this week, so something really major better be going on if you can call me. Otherwise, I'm gonna be a little bit incoherent, because I'm gonna be at the beach. And, so the bottom line is the next week I'll be meeting Steve Lindsay, so I don't wanna hold that up. I've told Heather, go ahead, reach out to Chancellor and those folks and see if they can get somebody together. Do we need a couple of our folks to be at that as well? Or just me and you, or would some, I mean, it's open to,
Yeah, like, it would probably be good.
if any of you folks would like to be at that meeting to see what that looks like. we're gonna
I think
have.
just a couple, maybe one or two.
So,
Is this during the day?
Don't know yet, probably, I don't know.
What will the overtime look like? Is there gonna be something said about
There
no
shouldn't,
overtime or anything?
there shouldn't be
should,
overtime.
no, it's considered a 40-hour week job. I mean, it's not really an overtime type. It's the 8-hour shift job, 5 days a week, right, is what that one looks like.
Kind of, I mean, there's some ball games.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't know,
We'll figure it out. We'll
And that's
work
just through the
that.
school year?
yeah.
We're not looking to add overtime.
I'll let you know.
Well, I mean, but even if there were some overtime activities, I mean, if they're paying some of the salary, I mean, it should be in that game for us. So, and
Sure.
it may allow him to be on the clock for certain things.
For certain functions. I
Be
agree.
visible at certain functions.
Right,
And we would still see a savings.
right,
Or a cost reduction, I don't want to say savings.
yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
Mayor, I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
first and second, that was Ms. Motley that seconded that.
She's
Very
ready.
quick. Well, give her kudos for that. So all in favor?
Good night, Linda.
Good night.
It passes, we're adjourned.